In today's lesson, we are going to be learning about area. We're going to learn how to understand area as a measure of space, and we're going to look at beginning to find the area of squares and rectangles. So what is area? Well, the area is the space inside a shape. So when you think about area, think about space. Okay, if I said to you, stay in your area, you'd think about, I'm going to stay in this space. So the area is a space inside a shape. So with this square, it's all the space inside. It's a measurement of the space inside. We are finding out how much space is inside. So we might want to find the area inside a room. We'd be looking at finding the space inside the room. Now, when we think about area, and if you're thinking about a room, it would be the floor space, not all the air as well. Okay, so that's thinking more about volume. So we're just thinking about the space of a 2D shape. So if you're thinking about a room, think about the floor, or maybe it's the area on a wall. You'd think about all the space on a wall. Okay, so here we've also got another type of shape. If we're finding the area, it's all the coloured part, all of the space inside. We can also find the area inside a circle, a triangle, a rectangle. Today we're going to be looking at how we would measure the area of squares and rectangles. So we're going to start with some simpler shapes. Now we would start first of all by counting squares. So here I have 4 shapes on a square grid. And to begin with, we can just simply count how many squares are inside our shape. So if you'd like to have a go, then pause the video and see if you can calculate the area of each shape. I'm going to begin. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now it might help you to tally or tick as you go. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to write 12. Now, if we were to say that these squares are all 1 centimetre, then we've got 12 centimetre squares. We've got 12 squares, which are all centimetre squares. Now, we would write inside centimetre, and to show that they are centimetre squares, rather than just a centimetre line, we put a little 2 up the top. Now, what I mean is, if each of these squares were worth 1 centimetre, so this whole shaded square here is a 1 centimetre square. What it means is that that is 1 centimetre and that is 1 centimetre. Now, when you write just centimetres, you're measuring a line. You're measuring one point to another. So on the outside of this rectangle, excuse the wobbly line, it's 4 centimetres. Up the side, it's 3 centimetres. I can just write centimetres because it's one line, one point to another. But when it's this space inside, we're not just measuring one line from one place to another. We're measuring one line from left to right and up and down. So there's like 2 dimensions. We can imagine 12 squares that are all centimetre squares. So we write 12 centimetre square. Very important to know that you use this notation. That means when you're writing down a measurement, you need to put the little square symbol. Let's look at the next one. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is also 12 centimetres squared. It was 2 centimetres there, and here it was 6 centimetres, and we have 12 centimetre squares inside. Let's look at this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Have you noticed anything that I could do to be quicker? Now I'm just going to write in how wide this is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 6 centimeters wide. There are 6 squares in the row, and let's look at how many there are in each column. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are also 6 centimeters in each column. So it's 6 wide and 6 long. Now I could count one by one, or because I know there's 6 in each row, I could count in 6s using my 6 times table. So 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36. There are 36 centimeter squares inside this shape. Finally, I have another square. Now I know it's a square because it's 4 centimeters wide and 4 centimeters long. So I'm going to count in 4s because there are 4 squares in each row. 4, 8, 12, 16. And there are 16 centimeter squares inside that shape. So we've counted the squares inside each shape. You can count them one by one, or if you feel confident, you can count in rows or in columns. Can you think of a link already with how you can use the measurements of a shape to find the area inside? What we now want to move on to is to finding the area inside a shape when you don't have a square grid to count your inside. So you haven't got the grid to count the inside, but can you spot something we learned on the last slide that will help us here? Let's look at our first shape. We know that it's 5 centimeters long, 5 centimeters wide. If we were to imagine those grids in, we would know that there are 5 squares across and 5 squares coming down. So if I was counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then again 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I'm counting in 5s, aren't I? I'm counting in 5 across and I'm counting 5 down. So I would simply do 5 times 5, which is 25 centimeters square. The next stage of finding your area is to multiply your length and your width. So you find the 2 measurements and you multiply them by each other. And then you need to remember that the answer is 25 centimeter squares, okay, because we're not doing one line. We've got, we're going left, right, up and down. So it's centimeter square. Now, make sure that you don't get confused when you are doing a shape which isn't a square. So, for example, with this shape, we've got 7 across and 3 up. Now, make sure you don't do 3 times 3 because you've multiplied these 2 ends. And make sure you don't do 7 times 7 because you've multiplied these 2 parts of the rectangle. It needs to be your length and your width. So if you're looking at a square or a rectangle, I suggest finding one corner that meets at a right angle. Okay, or it could be this corner, on this shape it could be that corner, on this shape it could be that corner, but make sure you find the length and the width. So here we would be doing 3 times 7, which equals, have you paused the video and had a go at these? If you want to, make sure you do that now because I'm going to go through the answers. So the answer to this is 21 centimeters squared. If I go along to this one, we are doing 10 times 6. Okay, we're doing these meet at a right angle. I've got my length and my width, which equals 60 centimeters squares, and I've got finally my 4 times my 6. They meet at a right angle. It's my length and my width. 4 times 6, which is 24 centimeters square. Okay, so once you are confident with counting squares, you want to move on to finding the area by multiplying the length and the width. And be careful, make sure you're only multiplying two sides that meet at a right angle. So try not to multiply the numbers if they're both the same, unless it's a square, because if it's a square, all the sides will be the same. For our final activity, I'd like you to pause the video in a moment. Can you match up the shapes with the same area? Now, this is not to scale, so that means you won't be able to just look at it and match up to another shape that looks the same size. Okay, if you see not to scale, it means do not try and guess by looking at it. Okay, you have to use the measurements that are there. So using what you know about area, on the left, the yellow shapes, each yellow shape has the same area as one of the blue shapes. Okay, each blue shape matches a yellow shape. Each yellow shape matches a blue shape. So you can count squares on the yellows, but on the blues, you need to use your times table facts. Can you find the matching shapes? So pause the video now because I'm about to give you the answer. So for shape A, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 in that row, 10 in that row. We have 20 centimeters square. B, we have 1, 2, 3 in a row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a column, which means it's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 centimeters squares. And for C, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 centimeter square. Let's look at our blue. We need to use our times table and we need to make sure that we've got the length and the width, and that they are sides that would meet at a right angle. So here I've got 3 times 3. Now it's a square, so it's okay to do our centimetres square. So 3 times 3 is 9 centimetres square. You may or may not have learnt about square numbers, but 3 squared is 9, and that's because if you lined up 3 to make a square, you would get 9. So when you learn about your square numbers, think back to area because it is linked. 3 squared is 9, and a square made up with 3 and 3 has got a 9 centimetre square area. For E, we have 2 and 9, so we're going to multiply our 2 by 9, which gives us 18 centimetres square. And for F, we've got 4 and 5. 4 multiplied by 5 gives us 20 centimetres square. And now we can match them up. We've got A and F, we've got B and E, and we've got C and D. So if I write that out, we have A and F, we have B and E. I'm going to write that in a bit neater. And we have C and D. Did you get those right? Okay, hopefully you've learned something new today and you feel confident to find the area of squares and rectangles. If you would like to know more about area in our app, which is available on the Apple and Android store, we have a couple of different learning objectives which are about area and perimeter. So one, which is specifically about just area and also talks about volume. We have a video, we have 3 worksheets, and we have some SATs questions as well. So you can learn a little bit more. Now we learn a bit more about more complicated shapes, rectilinear shapes and compound shapes, and we apply that knowledge to some word problems as well. So we've got true and false questions and lots of SAT style questions. So if you'd like to learn more and challenge yourself more on area, the app is available to download. It's just $4.99 a month, and you also get access to all of the 49 learning objectives in the Year 6 maths curriculum.